could mean that guys like Lawrence Okoli, and especially if it's your right eye, if Jake's getting hit in his right eye, that usually would mean that he's getting jabbed, because that jab in orthodox would come out from the left hand on the right eye side.
And that experience would have been somewhat of a dawn of realization upon Jake Paul that this is actually happening now. So to an extent, I'll be honest, I actually feel sorry for Jake Paul.
Jake Paul is reportedly said to have been knocked out by a heavyweight sparring partner while preparing for his upcoming fight with Anthony Joshua. He recently appeared with a visibly bruised and swollen eye, explaining that the injury occurred during intense sparring sessions with Lawrence Okoli.
Keep it going. Way too long. There you go. Good round, Jake. Check that.
Joey Knight revealed that Jake Paul has been sparring with elite heavyweight fighters such as Lawrence Okoli, Frank Sanchez, and Jared Anderson. Throughout these sessions, Paul showed clear signs of damage, reflecting the extreme level of intensity involved. Knight described it as the toughest week of Paul's training camp, noting that the raw power and experience of his sparring partners took a serious physical toll. The visible bruises highlighted just how demanding preparation is when facing someone of Anthony Joshua's caliber. According to Knight, even controlled sparring with top heavyweights is enough to expose the limits of Paul's durability and readiness.
Ranked Lawrence Okoli. That is who Jake Paul has been sparring with over these past few weeks.
Trouble finding Hussein Mohammed early on.
And a lot of you guys will know this because Jake Paul showed the bruises and marks on his face and said that it was Lawrence Okoli that had done that. And faces don't necessarily tell you how a spar went. Some guy can have blood all over him, he can have a busted up nose, but he still won the rounds in sparring. But I can only imagine that this week has been a very, very humbling experience for Jake Paul. In fact, the past few weeks will have been eye-opening for Jake Paul. A past few weeks where he has sparred the likes of Lawrence Okoli, of Jared Anderson, and of Frank Sanchez as well. And being that I have seen Jake Paul go life and death with Tommy Fury, you can guarantee you that Okoli, that Anderson, and that Frank Sanchez have basically manhandled Jake Paul in there. And that experience would have been somewhat of a dawn of realization upon Jake Paul that this is actually happening now. So to an extent, I'll be honest, I actually feel sorry for Jake Paul. I mean, I don't, because then I remember the 70-odd million that he's reported to be earning at the end of this fight. But you can't deny, right, that in a world where these almost fantasy fights and whatnot are making such a shitload of cash, that Jake Paul's probably being paid in line for this fight, actually. And the reason I say he's being paid in line is because I really don't think it takes a genius to work out where I'm going with my prediction for this fight. And that is obviously, no, in fact, drum roll, please. AJ via knockout, obviously, technical knockout, if Jake gets...
Jake Paul's decision to spar with top-tier heavyweights has sparked heavy criticism from analysts and fans. While Paul is known for stepping into big fights, his preparation for Anthony Joshua has revealed how steep this challenge truly is. Training footage shows Paul absorbing heavy shots, exposing weaknesses that were not evident in earlier fights. Boxing analyst Wade suggests these sessions highlight a major vulnerability. Reports claim Paul was knocked out during sparring, raising doubts about his ability to handle genuine heavyweight power. This has fueled questions about whether Paul's confidence matches his actual preparedness.
The question is, which one of those two things is happening? And question is, how is it going down? Because what we know about Anthony Joshua is that he has a nasty lead hook, and he's going to have a reach advantage on Jake, just like Lawrence Okoli does in the gym, which is why Jake has brought him in. So that jab's going to be effective. That lead hand of AJ is going to be effective. How does Jake maneuver around that? And again, you can look at this a couple of ways. One, okay, you get hit with it in camp, so you don't get hit with it in the fight, which is why you bring these heavyweights in. It's why you bring Jared Anderson, Lawrence Okoli, Frank Sanchez in. Or two, there's a massive flaw in what Jake's doing, that he's continually getting hit with this, and the indication that he's getting hit by Okoli means he's going to get hit the same way with Anthony Joshua. I tend to believe a little bit of both, right? You do this so that it doesn't happen, but also how much can Jake really learn and to avoid something that's coming out with the jab or with the lead hook, or just again the distance control and the range of a guy like Okoli and a guy like AJ.
Footage from sparring sessions shows Paul repeatedly taking clean shots to the chin from heavyweights, leaving visible marks and signs of wear. Training with fighters like Lawrence Okolie represents a level of physical and technical intensity far beyond Paul's previous experience. Observers point out that the combination of size, power, and skill from these sparring partners is exposing clear gaps in Paul's defense.
4'6". He isn't 250 pounds. He's not a natural heavyweight. And you could say that's an advantage to Jake. He's going to be able to move around a little bit. Again, we'll talk about his feet in a second. But it's more to me the fact that what we're not seeing is the biggest weakness of Jake's, on top of the fact that he's gotten an eye smashed up in sparring. They said Frank Sanchez made his nose look like a crescent moon. We'll get to that in a second. Lawrence Okolie is giving him a freaking shiner in sparring. So again, you could say that's great work from Jake to be able to have these high-level guys come in, but you also have to admit that he's getting hit, and he's getting hit a lot by guys that aren't Anthony Joshua in terms of their skill and ability, or at least not at the highest level that AJ has been to. So,
but we brought in world champion heavyweight sparring partners, guys who are 270 pounds, 250 pounds, sparring them, has been insane. I still got the remnants of
I see you taking a little shot there. I like that you're taking those shots.
Analyst Castillo offers a blunt assessment, stating that facing Anthony Joshua will be brutal for Jake Paul. He argues that even with high-level sparring, Paul's chances of withstanding Joshua's knockout power are extremely low. Castillo suggests that if Paul manages to last more than 3 rounds, it would already be seen as an accomplishment. His view is clear. While heavyweight sparring can provide exposure, it cannot fully prepare someone for sustained pressure, precision, and power of a world-class former champion. The gap between influencer boxing and elite heavyweight competition.
I think it could go, honestly speaking, if Jake can last 3 rounds, in a way he's kind of won a mental victory, because I'll be real, I think everybody's expecting AJ to come there and blast them out in 1 round. But I think a moral victory would be if Jake just lands 1 stun punch on him. That'd be good enough for him, but kudos to Jake Paul for even doing this, because honestly speaking, I'm not gonna lie to you, one of the greatest moments that I've witnessed in boxing history, and I know Jake Paul is obviously an influencer, and I'm a boxing fan, I love boxing, so this is a bit weird to say that this is quite a huge moment, but just when he came out last year, and he came out with his brother, and he came out on a little rider, I got goosebumps, because in that moment I said to myself, how can anybody watch this and not feel like dreams can't come true? He must even surprise himself looking at that and think to himself, how on earth am I even here fighting Mike Tyson? And one more thing, even speaking of that, I give him a lot of respect for not knocking out Mike Tyson, because he could have. And so I respect him for that. So against AJ, and for AJ as well, AJ gets a lot of flack, but at the same time, I think AJ's he's about 35, 36, 37 right now. He doesn't really have anything else to prove right now, so why not cash out with a big fight against
Simon Jordan, speaking alongside a TalkSport host, emphasized Joshua's one-punch knockout power and how it dramatically raises the danger level for Paul. The fight is increasingly being viewed not as an exhibition, but as a genuinely risky contest. Analysts stress that Joshua's ability to end fights instantly is proven, not hypothetical. His timing, technique, and experience make every exchange dangerous. While Paul's heavyweight sparring is meant to simulate this risk, experts agree there is a major difference between controlled training and facing a full-force...
Yet. And having Anthony Joshua in front of you, I really hope it doesn't go to that end, but it's a very, very dangerous fight.
You actually just said that if the fight goes ahead, do you believe then that this fight won't go ahead? Because there's many people that do.
I mean, I think it goes ahead, but I mean, I don't know what Jake Paul is thinking, to be honest, because you're talking about someone that is 2 times heavyweight champion of the world. Is someone that actually have got a one-punch knockout power. He understands range, he understands positioning, he understands how to set you up. He's a bigger man, he's a stronger man. I don't know where, for me, yes, I'm thinking the worst, but I want to be positive, and I really hope that both of them goes home safe with plenty of money. But looking statistically and the professionalism of the sport, I don't see the fight going past 2 rounds.
Well, interestingly, when we're recording this show, it's been announced, and it'll come after, our show will come out afterwards, that Jake Paul was doing an announcement this afternoon at, I think, something like at 2 o'clock our time. So who knows what that's likely to be. Interestingly, I spoke to Eddie Hearn when the fight was first announced to try and get the take of what this really was. And his belief, Eddie's belief, and whether you subscribe to Eddie's views on this, is that he genuinely believes that Jake Paul doesn't know what he's walking into, doesn't seem to have a regard for what he's walking into, is slightly deluded about it, thinks that Anthony's a bit chinny, and thinks he has a chance in this fight. Now, I don't know about you boys, but unless you've lived under a stone, you know that Anthony Joshua can punch. The only debate about Anthony Joshua is not the physicality of Anthony Joshua, it's the psychology of him. There's going to be no psychological damage to Anthony Joshua when he walks in against Jake Paul. This has jeopardy written all over it, doesn't it?
I think from Jake Paul's side, I think
for Jake Paul physically.
Yeah, I think that Jake Paul though is actually deluded enough to believe that if he gets inside, that he's got.
Is he?
He must be, Simon. Otherwise, the fight wouldn't be going ahead. He truly believes that he can win.
David Hay adds insight into Paul's mindset, suggesting that Jake may believe the same tactics used in previous fights will work again. Hay points out that backing Paul to win would require believing in highly unlikely scenarios, such as controversial decisions that ignore clear skill gaps. Analysts view Paul's heavyweight sparring as both bold and revealing. While it may improve his toughness and conditioning, it also highlights the sharp divide between preparation and reality. Against Joshua, Paul will face challenges that cannot be fully...
That was possible, but it is, and it's happening. And my initial thoughts were, Anthony's just going to blast him out as soon as he hits him. He's going to just punch his head in and knock him out. That was my initial thoughts.
See what I was sitting ringside when Anthony Joshua annihilated Francis Ngannou. Now Ngannou's not a boxer, but he is a fighter. He's a big lump. He knows what it takes to take punches.
He was a lot more than that going into the fight with Anthony Joshua. He'd just beaten, on my opinion, and knocked down Tyson Fury, who was the champion at the time. So I don't think that fight is a close representation of what Jake Paul brings to the table, because Anthony Joshua was going into that fight against someone who looked like they just beat Tyson Fury. So although on paper Ngannou didn't have any credentials in boxing, he had the physicality, the size, the strength, and all of that cage fighting background to somehow put together an amazing 10 rounds with Tyson Fury and lose a close fight. So Anthony Joshua went into the Ngannou fight on his best form. He went into there with that fear factor where he didn't want the performance Tyson Fury had. He wanted to really impress. So he obviously tuned right in for that fight, and the results were clear to see. Is Anthony Joshua going to go into this fight with Jake Paul with the same mindset after seeing him beat on points a 58-year-old Mike Tyson? My opinion is no. I think he feels zero fear in this fight. He's in a unique situation where he's going into a boxing ring with someone he doesn't believe.
Boxing is not only about taking individual punches, but about maintaining strategy and composure under constant pressure. Each heavyweight sparring session is designed to build timing, confidence, and reactions. However, the level of power Anthony Joshua brings introduces dangers far beyond anything Paul has encountered so far in his career.
I know they're getting a lot of money to be there, and it's easy work, but what is in that for Lawrence Okoli, Frank Sanchez, Jared Anderson?
Easy money. I don't know how much he'll be paying sparring partners. I assume to get those caliber of sparring partners in, it's got to be big money.
Lawrence Okoli's got a fight coming up. If you're Joe Gallagher, are you go spar Jake Paul? Is that going to help you?
No, absolutely not. Are you going to get a bit of profile from it, perhaps? People are going to hear your name. Yeah. Does that help? I remember going to spar with Kessler, and I got £500 or euros for the week. It was the hardest money I've ever earned in my life.
But how much did you learn from it?
Yeah, me, bundles.
Yeah. What's Okoli learn? I don't get it.
No.
I do get it, the money. But when you got a fight coming up, I'm thinking, really? Are you going to get anything out of that sparring that's going to help you in your fight? Maybe you are. Maybe I'm just completely diminishing Jake Paul's ability, but I'm struggling. I really am.
Fair play to Jake Paul. I mean...
And you're right, there's a bit of a conflict there, because Joshua used to manage him.
Yeah, it was through 258, right?
Yeah. But surely they're smashing him to pieces. Surely Jake's going, oh, what the fuck? This is fucking horrible.
Every single one of those three fighters there could annihilate him in a round.
Yeah, so are they not doing that?
Barry McGuigan stresses the seriousness of the situation, arguing that Paul is stepping far beyond the realm of entertainment or influence of boxing. He believes confidence alone cannot bridge the physical and technical gap Paul faces against Joshua. Joshua's knockout power is real and unforgiving, and any misjudgment could have immediate consequences. McGuigan's stance reflects the broader consensus among experienced voices in boxing. While Paul's rise has been impressive, facing a legitimate heavyweight champion is a completely different...
And you got Brian Norman Jr. all in the 154-pound category. So it's a tough division. So it wouldn't at all surprise me if he's unable to win a world title because the opposition is good. But maybe if he boiled down to 147 again, he would have a better chance.
Last thing I want to ask you about, Barry, is the big news regarding Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul. One of the biggest quotes, two of the quotes that stuck out to me was that David Hayes said, that fight could be Jake Paul's last day on earth. And I think Gareth A. Davis has described it as a freak show. Some people are saying, AJ's grabbing the bag. There's nothing wrong with that because anybody else, if they got offered that kind of money, they would do it. So. And some people are suggesting he might damage his legacy. Where do you sit with the decision of him taking that fight? And it's a professional 8-round fight as well.
Yes, it's a highly dangerous fight for Jake Paul. I don't know what he's doing unless they have done some sort of caveat or some sort of agreement that he says he's going to go easy on him or he's not going to go flat out. But I've been tossing this up and down in my mind and trying to figure how and under God, when he had agreed to fight someone like Tank Davis, who is several divisions below him, that's more like what Jake Paul does, and then he goes from there to fighting Anthony Joshua. I mean, just look at what happened to Francis Ngannou, who's a big, athletic, tough guy and had gone 12 rounds with Tyson Fury and given him a real ding-dong. And then he gets absolutely obliterated in a round and a half against Joshua. That shows you, despite the fact that he's been knocked out since by Daniel Dubois, who could knock out anybody, by the way, in any weight division or in any era of the heavyweight division. He's such a powerful guy. He could knock anybody out if he hits them properly. But it just seems